Max, send a message, man. We're coming after you. We're going to come find you guys and get this thing rolling as soon as possible.
We're going to kick you in the teeth, all right? And when you punch us back, we're going to smile at you.
Why, hello there, and welcome to episode 2 of the I Don't Give a Football podcast. I am one half of your hosting team, Jonathan Rizk, and I am joined by MG Geek here. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was our new intro, a little sound from both of our head coaches in there. MG, what do you think of our new intro, and how are you doing today?
I like it, except my AI image, but we'll discuss that later. But
I
Go
don't
ahead.
think it's a bad image. I think all we did was take a bunch of pictures of you, create an AI headshot, and then we just plopped your body on some random assistant coach.
Fantastic. Right.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
I think it works well. But
I do like the intro. I do.
Yeah, it's short, simple, sweet, and then we can update it when one of our coaches inevitably retires or gets fired. Do you think my coach retires or yours gets fired first?
One. I'm gonna say, oh man. Okay, it depends on the outcome of the season. We have another one of these fourth down meltdown moments. People might start turning on him, but right now I'm gonna say your coach retires.
That would be the safe bet. But we have a lot to get into. Yesterday, when we're recording this, because we're recording this on Tuesday, Monday was the start of the tampering period, which is the weirdest term in all of sports, the legal tampering period. And a lot of things happened. Yeah, I don't understand entirely what it's supposed to mean, but a lot of moving and shaking happened. So one of the big ones, we'll get right into it, MG. Justin Fields, one of the quarterback dominoes, decided to drop, and he signed a 2-year, $40 million deal heading over my way to Florham Park, New Jersey, to play with the New York Jets in the Meadowlands at East Rutherford, New Jersey. A lot of states I just mentioned there. MG, what say you about this shakeup in the Northeast region of the country?
I am intrigued by this because my former defense coordinator is now the head coach there. He seems they're giving him a chance. This 2-year deal, yeah. So they're not
2-year
breaking the bank on him. They're just hoping he can tread water and maybe turn into something. I just don't see I don't think they have a lot of receiver help around him, do they?
Well, they have Garrett Wilson,
right? Which Aaron Rodgers hated.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers was not a fan. I mean, they had receivers, but majority of them, I think, are going to be cut or going to get cut because they were Aaron Rodgers allies, as one could say. But, I mean, Garrett Wilson was his quarterback, as you could see on the graphic, DraftKings with the first comment underneath the post, teaming back up with his receiver in college. Garrett Wilson and Justin Fields were on that national championship team together as a 1-2 punch. So that's why I think it could work. As somebody whose team was in the market for a quarterback, I could tell you I was not sold on what Justin Fields could do as a talent quarterback. I think he's an amazing football talent. I just don't know if the position of quarterback is ultimately where he's best suited on a football field at this level in the NFL. Great in college. I imagine his high school tape is incredible, but to me, not somebody I want quarterback in my team, and he's not going to be, which we will get into my quarterback very shortly. But continuing on, MG, a few other notes as we run through here. Sam Darnold, another piece of those domino chips fell, and he is joining the Seattle Seahawks. I think it's like $100 million contract, something in that area.
Yeah.
Everything will get reported when everything becomes official.
They kind of overpaid for him, I think, but it is what it is. They were gonna, but then again, that's gonna be an ongoing theme when we'll get to that toward the end.
Yeah, but, compared to what they gave up in Geno Smith, which we'll talk to, but essentially They're giving Sam Darnold around 35 mil per year, from what I remember. And I think Geno wants 40 to 50, but we'll get into Geno a little bit later. Kenny Pickett, backup Super Bowl champion from this past year with the Philadelphia Eagles, getting shipped off to from his hometown team essentially to Cleveland, in a trade for Dorian Thompson Robinson. So a
It
swap
screams lateral move.
backup quarterback. When you think about it, a DTR is more the style of Jalen Hurts than Kenny
Yeah.
Pickett. So it makes sense for Philly. And the Browns are really just trying to do whatever they can to lighten the blow that is Deshaun Watson. Geno Smith we'll get into a little bit later, but Josh Allen, Bills extended their quarterback $330 million contract with 4 years left on his current deal. MG, I don't think neither of us will ever see $330 million in our bank account.
No, that's crazy.
Bet. But what say you, Josh Allen, with the Hollywood fiance, now with $330 million in his
They
contract?
had to do it. They really had to do it because the market's only going to get bigger.
Yeah.
It's just getting to that point where, I remember years ago, and I may even have said this last week. I remember years ago when Matthew Stafford was up here in Detroit, and they signed him for like 25 million per year, and people lost their minds, going, "Oh my God, he's not the highest paid quarterback as far as ranking. Why is he getting paid that money?" And then cutscene, 6 months later, he's like the 7th or 8th, and that was like 25. Now we're up. Now we're going to be pushing 75 mil within the next couple of years.
Yeah, as the salary cap keeps rising, you could expect these contracts to keep rising, which is why I want the Raiders to get a rookie quarterback so we can keep building a team. But continuing on, the Browns restructured Deshaun Watson. Nothing changes on the guaranteed money, just when he gets that money was redistributed. Daniel Jones finalized a 1-year deal, $14 million with the Indianapolis Colts. I know Indianapolis alum Pat McAfee was ecstatic about this, but MG, were you excited about this for the Indianapolis Colts?
It's, he's just one of those, he's their quarterbacks. Indy's just always finds the vanillest quarterbacks they can. And sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Peyton Manning, but he was great. So I don't know, maybe a change of scenery for Daniel Jones. Getting out of New York, I think for a lot of these guys, when they go to New York and they get out, they seem to have a little bit of a resurgence because there's no pressure on them anymore. At least not the same for that market. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I will say this as I am echoing the response from McAfee. I think this is a solid move for the Colts. They need to bring in another quarterback to that room. AR-15 has been proven to be a disaster so far up this point. So bring in some open competition. It's a 1-year proven deal, $14 million, not a lot of money. And don't forget, Shane Steichen with the Indianapolis Colts made the playoffs, or were what, one play away. They were one play. It was a drop in the end zone by a wide receiver or a first down or something. One play away from making the playoffs with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. And we all saw what Gardner Minshew did for my Raiders this past season, and that's jack shit. So I think Daniel Jones coming in that same position could actually do a little something for the Colts if AR-15 continues to be a shit show.
Okay, can I trigger you now? Can I trigger? Can we open
Already?
the trigger warning? Yeah,
Okay.
I want to fire it right up. Let's just fire it right up. Just go right to it. So there is a bunch of wide receivers that move teams. DK Metcalf probably is the biggest one to the Steelers. T. Higgins, where do you go? He's franchise tag. Okay. And then Deebo Samuel to Washington, Chris Godwin. But here we go. Jonathan, you now have a arch enemy NFC team. You have
I know?
Well, you thought you were getting their quarterback. You're not.
That's true.
He's staying. And they took the cancer that was Devontae Adams that just totally pained you, pretty much broke you last year. So, yeah,
Yeah,
there's a team you can hate watch on this year. It is the Rams, and 26 million guaranteed, two 46 million for 2 years. So it's not a huge contract for them to take on,
it's
but
it's
they're going for
essentially
it.
it's essentially the contract they refused to give Cooper Kupp, which is why Cooper Kupp is on his way out of Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's
I
another
will
thing I
say,
want to talk about.
and we'll get to that, but as I should be, as you said, hate watching this. You could kind of see in the bottom comment, somebody Antic Cube put, so glad for him and Jimmy reunited, and that's where I get solace in all of this, because
That's the
it's
other
great
thing.
karma.
Yeah.
So we have this clip that I wanted to show, and it's from receivers. So I'm just gonna go ahead and hit play here, and this is what Devontae Adams thinks of Jimmy Garoppolo.
I gotta get the fuck out of here before I lose my fucking life. I ain't never been hit this many fucking times in my career. Every game I get fucked up.
This year was a tough one as far as...
Albeit if Stafford has to come out of the game once this season.
Which, let me tell you, if you're a Raiders fan and you want some good karma, right? And I believe wholeheartedly in karma, Devontae Adams heading to the Rams while we have a quarterback that we acquired with the pick that we traded for Devontae for, and Devontae is stuck with Jimmy G because Stafford can't finish the season, which is possible. Nothing would bring me more joy.
Are they building a Taco Bell in SoFi Stadium as we speak? That's what I want to know.
Well, they might have to, because part of the thing is, if you don't know, Devontae Adams is number 17, and the Rams have another number 17 on their roster, and it's somewhere here. I have it somewhere. I have a really cool, I can't find it. Shit. Did I mess up the order? Oh, nope, here it is. Found it. So the Rams had a number. Whoops. Don't want the audio playing. The Rams had another. If I could get this thing to freaking work. The Rams had another number 17 previous on the roster, Puka Nacua, who will be going back to his college number of number 12. And the Rams on their X account released this really dope video package to announce it. Puka Nacua jerseys number 17 are now 50% off on NFL Shop. So if you're a Rams fan and you want to get that 17 jersey for some reason, you could go ahead and do that. And one of Puka's things that he requested on McAfee Show was for Devontae to hook him up with Taco Bell for life. So that is,
there you go,
the connection.
No, it's
there.
gonna be in the locker room.
Yeah, it might be in Puka's locker room, actually, a matter of fact. But yeah, so no hard feelings, because I think karma has a chance to pay off in the funniest of ways. It's already starting to prove itself with how the Raiders offseason is going. But MG, that's all I got on that. Devontae Adams is no longer in my mind as a Raiders fan, nor will he ever be when he gets inducted into Hall of Fame, which I'm sure he will be. He's a great talent. The Raiders will just be an insignia underneath his name and not the team he goes in under. So,
got it.
Next thing you want to talk about, MG, go ahead and hit me.
The only other one I want to hit, as far as, so there was a lot of other ones that are moved around, but I don't think the one we probably need to get into, because he was a big domino from the defensive side, Myles Garrett re-signed. It was a ploy, wasn't it? It was a ploy just to get more money, wasn't it? Okay, so I've heard two things. I heard that it was a ploy. He was just playing everyone all along. Or Cleveland just said, you know what? We ain't letting him go. And they just gave him the bag. Because he actually upped the edge market of where it's going to go. That he set the market by a lot. So, and then that was... prior to that, your guys, congratulations to Max Crosby being the highest paid non-quarterback for all of 12 minutes.
Yeah. And we knew this was going to happen. We talked about it actually at the end of last episode. I said that I was really scared because I didn't know where the Raiders would fall in that order. And surprising to me, because it never happens that way, the Raiders were actually ahead of the curve. which I'm really thankful for because the Raiders are not. I no longer have to hear trade rumors with Crosby. I'm so glad I'm done with it. I think that runs out of all the trade rumors for the Raiders this offseason as far as storylines go. So I feel like I'm off the hook. I feel like the monkey is off my back. But yeah, I think Myles Garrett's a fraud. I'm just gonna say it. I mean, he put out this whole premeditated statement with a Photoshop department, probably made on Canva. We got Enrique that handles our graphics, so they're a little bit different. But you know, he puts out this whole statement, said it's not about the money. I want to win. He had Max Crosby echoing this sentiment, giving me a heart attack on the Rush podcast. So this is some phony shit. I'm not a fan of it. I would have loved to see Myles Garrett in another uniform because I think he's an amazing talent that deserves a chance at a Super Bowl. And now it looks like he will never have that chance in his great career ever again. So put him in the Jim Kelly, Dan Marino slot for me.
Right on. So any other free agents that are listed here that intrigue you or you wanted to hit or?
None that's signed. I do want to get into one that's signed. For some reason you have him in unsigned, but we'll get to that in a second. So I messed up my order, but I want to get to this. I sent you this text earlier. And we just have to, I just feel like as the I Don't Give a Football podcast, we have to mention this. So Antonio Brown and CTESPN is reporting that the deal for Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers is finalized and it's 2 years. I bring this up because as crazy as Antonio Brown is, his CTESPN got a lot of shit first last offseason, and we don't give him enough credit in NFL media, and I think he should be getting the credit. I understand why he doesn't get the credit, but you know, all the jersey updates, he was the first on by about a week. I know this because the Jets and the Giants both had jerseys leaked by Antonio Brown, and they were right. And I was working in media at the time of those happening and laughing with the sports director being like, are we going to start calling Antonio Brown shit real yet? Because he just keeps knocking them out the park. So here we go again, another report. March 11th, 12:50 put this out. Nothing announced in the real world of NFL media, but let me say, this will get clipped and posted everywhere if Antonio Brown is correct and this deal does happen. MG, two questions. What's your reaction to this possible deal happening? Aaron Rodgers going to the Steelers, someone that knows him very well being a Detroit Lions fan. And two, MG, what is your thought process on CTESPN and AB? Are we consider them official sources at this point in the game?
Let me start that one. I think he's good for stuff that he knows about, but I think he also throws a lot of BS in. So like you're right because he does have contacts with players, but he also tweets on all kinds of weird subjects. So I take it with a grain of salt.
I would like to nominate you for Cracker of the Day, by the way. I think MG being Cracker of the Day, we would get that. Yo, that would not that might be the new avatar for all the Matt Men shows. It's just that tweet. If you become Cracker of the Day, I pray MG becomes Cracker of the Day one day. That's my dream for you.
F you. Okay. So back to Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh. Him and Tomlin on the sidelines, that's a dynamic. It intrigues me to utter proportions. Just I can't imagine him Tomlin taking all that crap. You're going where? To do what? For how long? No. I need you in the building, buddy.
I don't know if I feel like Tomlin, Tomlin has a Super Bowl, right? Tomlin has a ring.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Super Bowl, a Super Bowl winning head coach would garner a little bit more respect from Tomlin. I think Tomlin would know how to handle Aaron Rodgers to a different point, and not handle him, but I think he would understand how to let Aaron do his hippie stuff and still be able to reel him in and have him focused. And I think he was focused in New York. I don't I don't necessarily put a lot of weight
There was
into.
just so much mess in there.
Yeah, but I don't think it was him. I mean, if you think about it, right? He was great
No,
on
it wasn't
hard.
him. That's what I'm not.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah. So I think being on a team where it's not him, and the biggest problem is George Pickens, and I think Aaron Rodgers could kind of
And
get
DK
that
Metcalf
under
is
control,
gonna be-
at least for a little bit. He's either going to have it under control or he's going
Talk
to kill
about
it.
number problems. They
Yeah.
have a number problem in Pittsburgh there. We'll have to see where they solve that. But anyhow.
Yeah, but continuing on, just to keep the conversation moving here, and this is the one you had out of order, but Najee Harris signing with the Chargers. So MG, since
That's
this one's on the list
yeah.
for you, what do you have to say about this one?
So I really like this is a Jim Harbaugh move all day. You know, I rooted for Michigan. I was he was here when he won the national championship. They are going to hammer running backs, and this makes a lot of sense. So they're going to be a run first offense, and then let Herbert just throw up some bombs. So yeah, it's a good move for them. This is something that a Harbaugh move all day.
Yeah, and as now that he's in my division, I'm not a fan of it. And there was the talk that Naj was possibly coming to Vegas as well. So he's not, unfortunately, but that's all I got to say about that one. MG, you got more on your list. You got Cooper Kupp you wanted to talk about.
So he looks like when the tomorrow morning hits and the free agent signing period starts, he's not getting traded. I think Rams are floating out a trade and no one's taking it. So someone's going to take him on a very league or team friendly contract. I think maybe like just a 1 year, and maybe that's because I think that's what's going to happen with receivers going forward when they kind of get off that first contract. Is they're going to sign league minimums or team friendly deals for 1 year prove it's, or you know, with or maybe like a 2 year with some sort of option. But that's yeah, he's. I just don't. I wonder how much tread's left on the tires there, because he hammered it for a couple seasons.
Yeah, I mean, I think he could still be a good utility player. I could see him going somewhere like Green Bay that needs receivers.
Yeah.
I could see him actually if for some reason the Steelers do move on from Pickens, I could see him go into Pittsburgh, pairing him up with DK.
What about you guys?
I'm trying to think. We have like a fast slot guy in Trey Tucker, so I don't know where
See,
Cooper.
we have that too.
Yeah,
I thought
where
about
Cooper
that
would
too.
get
We need a
used.
receiver. Yeah, we need a receiver, but we need that tall lane, that post in the corner.
I assume that Tyler Lockett is on his way to Vegas. That's just kind of something that I've had pinned since he got released. But I could also see him going maybe Philly. Philly could use him, add him to the excited whites. I could see him going to New England with Josh McDaniels. I think he would fit well in that offense. I could also see him just staying in LA, going to the Chargers. I don't know if that's too many white people in a receiver room, so the NFL might not like that, but that's another option. And then I could also see because the Chiefs actually traded their only white receiver, I could also see him pairing it up with Andy Reid and going to Kansas City, being a veteran presence in that locker room where all the receivers are seemingly just getting into legal trouble off the field. So maybe a veteran presence in that locker room could kind of tie everything together there for that receiving room. You have an offensive lineman here highlighted that I don't care about, so I'll let you take this away, MG.
Yeah, I don't even know why I put this on there. This is Kevin Zeitler. He's a guard. He's a left. I think he plays right guard. He plays next to Penei Sewell. So he is someone that is going to be a free agent. I don't think we're re-signing him. I think we're going to end up letting him go. He'll still be a good guard, but I don't know. I'm not sure why I actually add that on there. But then the one that I really then let's just hit these last three, and then we can probably move on. Joey Bosa, Von Miller, Josh Sweat. These three.
So Diana Rossini is reporting that while Nick while Joey is definitely interested in playing with his brother Nick up in San Francisco, the Miami Dolphins are also pushing hard to try to get the services of Joey Bosa, which would make sense. He's from South Florida. The Bosas are. If you know anything about the Bosas, they definitely fit in Florida man world.
Yeah.
So that could also be an interesting fit. And I think Bosa in Miami would actually probably be a lot better than him in California. No taxes for the first time in his career, obviously playing for the Chargers. Von Miller, I would love to see in Vegas. I tweeted that out at official Rizk.
He would get you about 10 plays a game. I think.
But
it wouldn't be much.
I would like to see him.
Situationally, though, yeah. Third down.
Yeah, I would love to see him with Max and Wilkinson. And Josh Sweat.
He signed, by the way. He did sign.
I thought he did sign.
So the rumor was, and this is why I have optimism. The rumor was that we in Detroit were looking at him, so that means they are looking for some sort of edge rusher. As far as I thought about Joey Bosa, but apparently he doesn't want to play on turf; he wants to play on grass. And knowing his injury history, maybe that there's something to that. And
great for him to come to Vegas.
Yeah,
we got grass.
Josh Sweat would have been a thing. You got that. Whatever kind of grass. It's grass.
Well, no, we have the grass. It bakes in the Vegas sun, and then it gets rolled in for the game, and then UNLV uses turf. And any bowl games use turf, but the grass is only the Raiders games.
Got it.
Yeah. Speaking of the Raiders, let's get into it.
Yes,
MG, I would like to announce I got a fucking quarterback. Okay? Last week, I didn't know what was happening. My mock drafts were panicking. I was panicking. I was thinking Aaron Rodgers. I wanted Matt Stafford. I was thinking Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll going to reunite. But there was a reunited, and it feels so good because it's not Russell Wilson. Geno Smith for a third-round pick. As I alluded to before, it's like the 93rd pick. It is the pick that the Raiders received in return for Devontae Adams from the Jets. So Devontae got his toxic ass out of there, and the Raiders used that pick to turn around and get a quarterback who will be a bridge quarterback. I still think the Raiders draft a quarterback, but I will get to that in the mock
I think we talked
draft.
about that last week, right? We kind of
but we'll talk about that in the mock draft.
Idea.
But I am very excited about this, MG. MG, what do you feel, or how are you feeling for my Las Vegas Raiders with our new addition, West Virginia's own Geno Smith?
Geno Smith. Playing in the division you play in, and knowing that, because you're going to have there's going to be some tough defenses he's going up against. Having that mobile quarterback, he torched us. Geno Smith had his way a couple years ago with the Lions. So he can extend plays for you. He can get outside out the edge and give you some extra yardage. So yeah, I think experienced quarterback. He's going to probably have a few moments which is going to pull your hair out, or is going to throw a bad pick or get sacked for whatever reason. But for the most part, I think you got a veteran quarterback that you need. Like I said, draft another QB and then and just have him start or have him be behind him. So
yeah. As addition, we signed a couple free agents, and we'll get to those here in a second. But the Raiders did lose a lot of starters on defense, and we spoke about this last week. I had a few priority people that I felt like the Raiders needed to re-sign. I actually had 3 of them. And surprise, surprise, none of them re-signed with the Raiders. So I actually put out this tweet that got a lot of traction, and I said, I think not resigning Big Bobby Spillane automatically makes the Raiders one of the biggest losers in free agency. Now, Bobby Spillane, along with Nate Hobbs, were 2 of the automatics that I felt like the Raiders needed to re-sign going, and not let them walk away in free agency. And they didn't. A lot of people reacted to that tweet that I tweeted and, kind of disagreed with me. There was a lot of reasoning. And one of those reasonings were, and I would like to bring this one tweet up if I could find it, and here it is, MG. So you can see it from Tristan Kuhn on Twitter. Both Robert Spillane and Trayvon Merrick, who ended up going to the Carolina Panthers safety, have been paid above their projected comp pick values. The Raiders currently stand to receive a 3rd round for Merrick and a 4th round for Spillane. That will obviously change the Raiders signings, but showcases the overspending in free agency. And I wanted to point this out, MG, for the simple point that this is a very shit draft class, along with being a very shit free agency class. And there's a lot of overspending. And this also gets reflected in my mock draft, where I think there will be a lot of surprise picks and reaches, because a lot of teams will be drafting for need and not best player available, much like overpaying right now, because both classes, I believe, are pretty shit. So, MG, any reaction on the Raiders losing those, key pillars?
Well, and to add to what you just said, I think the big thing this year is, if there's one strength in the draft, it's defensive line, edge or interior. That's one of the strengths. So you're going to see a lot of these teams try to double down on getting it, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders are in on that, because it's cheap. You're not paying you're not putting out the bag to get it. You get a couple of starters, and they're starting by like week 8. Win. It's a win. So
yeah. Yeah. And so the first signing the Raiders made out of free agency, which came very late in the day, around 4:05 p.m. And a lot of people were
upset. They haven't done anything yet.
I was upset until I started realizing that it might have been because of the Geno Smith trade, that there was some money that might be owed, might not be owed, and they weren't going to have that number set in stone until after 4:00 on Monday. So that's why the Raiders didn't start making moves until then. And their first move came with safety Jeremy Chin, who was on the Commanders, played in Dan Quinn's defense last year. If you know anything, Dan Quinn was the defense coordinator for the Legion of Boom in Seattle. So there's the connection there. Overall, from Pro Football Focus grade, better grade than Trayvon Merrick, who he lost to Carolina, and Jeremy Chin came in at a hell of a lot cheaper. So was upset to lose Trayvon Merrick. Never really had any thought that we would keep Trayvon Merrick, but I am happy with the replacement of Trayvon Merrick. Along with Jeremy Chin, the Raiders re-signed Malcolm Kuntz, who is a defensive end, had a really good breakout end of the year of 2023, 2024, while the Raiders were at training camp in Costa Mesa, tore his ACL, ended his season, didn't get on the field last year, so we signed him to a 1-year prove-it deal, see how that ACL is doing. But, man, I thought he was going to be the MVP on the defense this year if he didn't get injured, MG. He had an incredible end to 2023, like I said, and I thought him being the bookend with Max was going to make the 1-2 punch that was going to dominate the league. Unfortunately, he didn't get to see it, so hopefully the return of the Malk, and he comes back nice and healthy and ready to move on. But another addition, the Raiders made a move for Bobby Spillane. They signed Steelers free agent Landon Roberts, who, this is funny. So, MG, and I'll tell you why this is funny. Robert Spillane came to the Raiders from Pittsburgh. He was relatively unknown coming out of Pittsburgh and was only known as a run stopper. Well, Roberts is relatively unknown out of Pittsburgh and is mostly known for being a run stopper. So I'm hoping that history repeats itself and we have the dumb luck that we got with Robert Spillane, where Robert Spillane turned in from a prove-it deal to being one of the highest paid middle linebackers in this free agency cycle going to New England, that we do the same thing. And if there's anything, MG, that makes me happy and excited about it, it's this video that's shows number 50 right here, jumping over a pile to make a stop and a fumble on the goal line. So I am very excited about this. And I wanted to point out another tweet that from Mo Moten from Bleacher Report. He said the Raiders and Steeler fans are upset about losing their linebackers today. And the Raiders signed the Steelers lost for a fraction of the price that the Patriots signed the Raiders linebacker. Did you follow that? So as upset as I was with Robert Spillane going to New England, joining Mike Vrabel, not re-signing with the Las Vegas Raiders, that tweet just puts it in perspective. We got the guy that Pittsburgh is most upset about losing for half the price. So, MG.
Yes, sir.
Do you feel as bad for me as you probably shouldn't?
I don't feel bad for you.
Okay. Because, we got a quarterback.
Yeah, you and like I told you yesterday, we were texting, and I said, this is just the beginning. There are so many little other dominoes that are going to fall. Free agency is just starting. We got a good, and I know probably we'll hear by this time next week, we'll have a better understanding of what our teams are going to look like before the draft. So I wouldn't get too ahead of yourself if they don't do anything. But yeah, other than that, hey.
Yeah. And the Raiders made one more signing in the middle of the night. Lonnie Johnson, safety coming over from Carolina. So he basically just swapped safeties with Carolina as well. Another half the price. He'll be more of a special teams guy. I only bring this one up because I thought this was a fun little story from his original draft report. But Kentucky cornerback Lonnie Johnson Jr. was originally supposed to play at Ohio State, but an ACT score he needed to count to be academically eligible had his name spelled JONNSON, which negated the score. He ended up in a junior college for 3 years before ultimately playing for the Wildcats. Lonnie said it was a computer mishap. So a computer mishap could have really ruined this man's career. He was supposed to play at Ohio State, ended up playing at Kentucky. So right there, if you're supposed to play at Ohio State, I have faith that you're going to end up being a good player for my Raiders.
There you
go. I'm not, it's special teams depth at the end of the day, in my opinion. As far as the Raiders in whole go, I'm happy we got Geno Smith. We'll talk about it in the mock drafts. I still think there's a quarterback in the Raiders' future. Right now, they're sitting at plus 1,800 to win the division, the AFC West, with Geno Smith and Pete Carroll reunited. I think that number goes up. I think Denver had a fluke year. I think they fall back a little bit. I think the Chargers could relatively stay the same depending on the draft. The Chiefs are the Chiefs as of right now. But we'll get into all that when the season gets closer.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this real quick. Are you like still holding to, and I know we'll do our mock drafts in a second, to someone like Shedeur Sanders, or you rather them wait till the second or third round and take like a Milroe type? Now that you have a quarterback, you can draft and stash. So, and do you draft and stash number one?
Yeah. Where
the
I'm at,
Geno gets in trouble, you're gonna hear all those people put in the rookie.
Well, but I think Raiders fans are smart enough to know that's not going to happen. I think we ultimately draft a rookie quarterback. I don't think it's in the first round. So that kind of gives you a little sneak peek into where my mock draft sits. And, spoiler alert, we have 5 people matching in our mock draft of where they're going. So stay tuned for that at the end of this episode. But MG, it's time to talk about your Detroit Lions and some of the moves you made. So I will let you take the floor.
The big one to start off with is we let Carlton Davis walk. And we got DJ. No, you're right. We got DJ Reed to replace him. Let's see, what's this? 3-year deal, $48 million with $32 million guaranteed. He is, what I understand, he's a really handsy corner. He does have some problems with penalties, getting PIs. So that is my only concern. But he seems to be just as good, if not a little better than Carlton Davis. So I'm happy. I'm happy with that completely.
Yeah.
And we're actually not, because Carlton Davis got paid, and this is kind of one of those league team friendly deals where you take a guy and it's going to be almost like a prove it deal. So I have no problem with this move.
Yeah.
He's going to be number one. He's going to be number one until Terry and Arnold can get a little bit better. But I think we'll be solid in there. That's taken care of. We did
Yeah.
the same thing last year. Now the focus is going to be on getting some defensive line, specifically edge help.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited for you on this pick. Obviously we texted.
You texted me right away.
Yeah. So
I didn't see it right away.
So for those, well, obviously no one would really know. I used to work with some NFL people when I lived in California. DJ was one of the guys at the facility that I worked at. So DJ and I had plenty of Madden games together, where we talked a lot of bullshit. And he often complimented my outfits. So I actually had, and I sent MG the screenshot of the start of the night before, Sunday night. I actually texted DJ just a gif of a Raiders flag. I'm assuming he didn't read my text because he ended up signing with you guys, but somebody that I wanted. So very impressed with this signing. I love DJ, great human.
And this is a Brad Holmes move, right?
Yeah.
It's a good, solid player. They say culture fit here a lot. It's a culture fit. It's a guy that will play hard and do the right things and not be a distraction. That's it. The other ones, I'll go into these real quick. Marcus Davenport, this is the one that had a lot of people in the media here in Detroit kind of shaking their head. It's a 1-year prove it deal. He's been injured a lot, and I mean a lot. He barely played last year. I think he played the first game, and that was it. And he never came back. So they're hoping that he can establish more of the edge, help there. He'll be in the rotation. They'll be able to, because they're going to want to move Aiden around, and so he kind of like did. Who am I thinking of? The guy that just retired from the Rams, Aaron Donald. Similar to that, someone like that. So I could see them doing. If he works out, he will be an improvement. He will help that D line out a lot. And I will get into the big rumor at the end here. Derek Barnes, another versatile linebacker, can do no wrong because he intercepted Baker Mayfield in the divisional round last season to send us to the championship game. So, hey, and then Ezekiel Turner, he's just going to be a special teams guy. So that's the other one. Carlton Davis is gone. I already mentioned that. So yeah, 3 years, $60 million. And the fact that we got DJ Reed, we kind of were saving money. So there's that.
Yeah, similar with the Raiders and losing Robert Spillane to the Patriots and getting Roberts in return.
And free up a little cap space, so they'll have money down the road. The one that I think, this one also surprised a lot of people because he wasn't going to be that expensive, although they were going to probably have to re-sign him. But Ladarius Smith,
Zadarius,
I always do that. Zadarius Smith. It's a weird name. It's an interesting name. So we got him last year because we needed someone to help lighten the load with Hutchinson gone, and he had 4 sacks for us. But there toward the end, they were just double teaming him because that's all we had. So, I don't know. He would have been a nice. He would have been a nice veteran to have on the team going forward. So I don't know. I already mentioned a couple of the ones that are leaving with Levi Onwuzurike and Kaminsky and Zeitler. I don't think some of those are going to get re-signed, but I don't like I said, Zeitler, I don't think is. Let's see. So Holmes again is doing that thing where he kind of he's adding depth to that defense and with players that aren't going to be very expensive, because God forbid I don't want to pull off the UFL practice squad roster like we had last year. We had dentists in there, for crying out loud. At least it felt like it. The big rumor. So let's get into this for a minute. Trey Hendrickson is supposedly. Oh, you found a cool picture. He's
The Detroit
supposedly one of
Times.
the,
You could thank them.
yeah. Oh, it's a big rumor here. Everybody's like, "Hey, what can we do? What can we do?" And the rumor I've heard is a second round this draft, and maybe a third next year, and then we get back like a 7 or something, like, or 6 or 5, like a 5 next year, something like that.
Okay.
So it balance out, and we get Trey Hendrickson. So he's seeking the trade. The team has told him he can. That's the Bengals. Whether or not we have what they want, and I don't know. But I heard someone on one of the radio stations in Green Bay. Someone had said that they are terrified if we get Hendrickson, absolutely terrified, because we're gonna have the quarterback is gonna be in peril the whole game. So
Yeah.
So yeah, look excited to see if they can pull that off. If not, I still think we're taking an edge rusher until otherwise. And that my mocks will affect that. I don't. That's all I really got for the Lions stuff, because there's a lot going on. But we'll see going forward. I'm sure there'll be some juicy rumors soon. Wait for St. Brown's podcast, and then there's usually something coming out from that.
Well, this last segment is where we normally get into the UFL stuff, but no news to report right now. The season starts later this month, so we will get into it later then. But let's get into our mock drafts. So we did our mock drafts last week, and we'll put those up on the screen so everyone can see. These are our mock drafts 1.0. And very interesting. We also had the same 1, 2, 3. We had a lot more matching in this one than we do in this year's. So I want to real quick. I have to pull it up.
We got the same. Let me see.
So we got this is last week's. So I'm going to pull up this week's now, which is our 2.0 mock draft, and there is our 2.0 mock drafts. A lot of surprises here, I think, on both of ours. Definitely taking different routes. MG, we will let you go first and let you explain your mock draft, sir.
So I was confused on where to go. So on the mock draft thing we use, they do allow for trades, but I think you got to be signed in, because it didn't let me do them. So maybe we'll work on that.
Okay.
Because I was thinking about New York possibly wanting to move up.
The Jets or the Giants? There's 2 New York teams, bud.
Yeah, sorry, the Giants. The Giants.
Okay.
Makes a lot of sense. But then I started thinking about what do these teams really need, and I said, okay, Cam Ward still going to go number 1 for me. Then I have Shedeur Sanders, because I think they are going to take a quarterback. As of right now, I know they signed what's his face, but I think Cleveland might do that. We'll see. It's the whole Dion thing involved there, but Mason Graham, I really liked him at Michigan. He's a force. And you have what's the dude from Oregon? Thibodeau. Yeah. That could make the Giants defense scary. Travis Hunter at 4. At some point they need a quarterback. They need a cornerback, cornerback and a wide receiver. Just so happens you get both. Will Campbell, offensive tackle for the Jags, and what's his face, some protection. Tenoria McMillan. So I have Trevor Lawrence. I'm sorry. I can't say this guy's name very well, but Tatoria McMillan. I have you guys.
I think you got that right.
Did I?
Yeah,
Victoria?
I think you said that right. So round of applause for MG. Get in.
Yes.
You
So
know,
you
well,
got your receiver.
yeah.
So I'm fine. I don't know. Obviously, everybody seems to be taking Ashton Jency there for some odd reason. You know, I'm not a fan. I don't know how he's gonna project out. I will get to that at the end here when we get into my little whatever rant we call it. And then Shamir Stewart, Carolina, Will Johnson to the Saints from Michigan, and then a couple more here. Anything stand out? And I finally did put Ashton Genty to Seattle. They're going to need a running back now.
Okay.
And Seattle always seems to do good with backs, right? So we'll see. I'm not going to go through all of these. The ones that really stand out, and the one I left off Loveland from Michigan. He's not in my first round. Just
Interesting.
And it had to do with needs. I was like, this team, none of these teams need a tight end. They all need edge. They all need, a lot of them need tackles. And there's very similar needs in this middle, from 20 on. So that's that. I have my Lions taking Donovan Izarico. I probably screwed that up. An
Okay.
edge from Boston College. So, and then a lot of interesting ones in here. I have the Chiefs taking a defensive tackle. Because I think we're on the last of the Chris Jones years, so they're going to
Okay.
want to start plugging that hole. Yeah, that's all I got. Everyone can see the full list if they watch the episode, but that's what I got.
And we'll tweet it out at IDGA football pod on all social media. You can follow us there and see these tweeted out. I shall get into my 2.0 now, MG.
Yes, sir.
Boom. So, right off the back, I come with a shocker. So,
yeah, I see that.
So here's my rationale. So my initial thought process was for the Browns, right? The Browns have been telling everybody that they're drafting a quarterback, which would make me believe, because of the quarterback situation, that they're not really drafting the quarterback, that they're throwing up smoke screens to the media because they want somebody that they think Tennessee wants, and the only way for them to get them is to make everybody that needs a quarterback think they're taking a quarterback, so that those teams will trade up to Tennessee spot at number 1, take a quarterback, which will allow whoever they think Tennessee is going to get to fall into their laps. That was my original process of thinking. But then I said, I don't know what's happening with the quarterbacks. All the quarterback needy teams are seemingly finding quarterbacks right now, and in a draft class where the quarterbacks aren't that strong, you might not need to trade up to get a quarterback. So that's where we landed on my 2.0 mock draft. I have Travis Hunter being my number 1 pick. The Tennessee Titans have come out from day one and said they're not drafting a quarterback. They are drafting a generational player, whoever that may be. Who else is generational besides Travis Hunter? He plays cornerback. He plays wide receiver, who get drafted as a cornerback because they make less money. But what do the Titans need? Both a wide receiver and cornerback. We were thinking that same thing with
just
where
with
you
different
put
team.
just with a different team. And I went with the team that had the pick quicker. So that's why I have Travis Hunter at number 2. Now, where we are right now in life, because I'm not convinced that the Browns are not taking a quarterback yet, I'm throwing Cam Ward there. Because the Giants have yet to address the quarterback situation in free agency, I scheduled Shedeur Sanders to them. I don't think if they don't get a quarterback, if Rodgers goes to the Steelers and Russ doesn't go to the Giants, then they're obviously not going to pass up on Shedeur Sanders if he's there.
It's still a good pick, regardless.
Yeah,
like I said, he could sit for a while.
That too. But if you're the Giants and you're Dable and Steichen, or I forget the GM for the Giants, but they're on the hot seat if they don't win this season. So at that point, if you have your quarterback to get you through the season and you're not sold on Shador, pick the best player available is what I would do. That gets Abdul Carter sliding down to 4. I don't think Vrabel passes on Abdul Carter. Mason Graham, I think, goes to Jacksonville, as I had on my last mock draft. Now, the Raiders, I have them picking
Changed.
Michigan man, cornerback Will Johnson. Why did I make this change? Well, I just told you earlier. The Packers took away our best cornerback in free agency. I wanted Nate Hobbs. I needed Nate Hobbs to re-sign. He didn't. So now the Raiders' depth at cornerback is slim. Who else to fill that role than the Michigan man? His NFL comp is J.C. Horn, and I think Will Johnson will look beautiful in the silver
He's
and
really
black.
good. Although he didn't play his senior year, he is really, really good.
Yeah, and I think if he's on the board, the Pete Carroll, defensive-minded coach.
Yep.
You know, I think at this point,
that.
our offense is kind of pretty set. I think the running back class is deep enough. If I'm the Raiders, I'm eyeing 2 potential running backs, and that is Cam Skattebo and Kyle Monangai. Yes, I'm biased because I'm an Arizona State alum and a Rutgers fan. So, yes, I picked the running back from each of those programs, but they're good fucking running backs that'll be their 3rd, 4th, 5th round potentially. I think the Raiders ultimately draft another Will at quarterback. I think Will Howard gets drafted in the 3rd round by the Raiders at quarterback because Chip Kelly's there. He could sit behind Geno Smith. You have your quarterback of the future. You have your quarterback to bridge to him, and you're all set and you're ready to rock and roll. Some other things that I have here, Ashton Genty. Doesn't that just seem like a Jerry Jones pick?
Yeah, I told you that last week. I changed him. I had him last week there.
It just feels like it's a Jerry Jones pick, and I'm sold on that. Ashton Genty, I got going to the Cowboys. Matthew Golden, wide receiver, Texas. We both have slotted at number 16 to the Cardinals, so that's one of our matches. Mm-hmm. Another one of our matches, linebacker. We actually have 3 in a row right here with Jalen Walker, to linebacker from Georgia, going to Tampa, Jahad Campbell, a linebacker going from Bama, going to Denver, and Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle from Ohio State, going to Pittsburgh. So we hit those 3 back to back to back. One of the guys you mentioned you left off, Costin Loveland, your boy from Michigan, joining back with his head coach.
That's actually a no-brainer. The reason why I didn't take him is because it wasn't, for whatever reason, it's not a need for the Chargers right now. So I left him off, and then he just
maybe not on where they showed it there, but I use other websites to compile my mock draft like a real analyst. MG, you should get on board.
Yes. I'm so probably why my fantasy team blows.
Now, if it wasn't for that one, we would actually have 5 in a row because we both have Green Bay picking the wide receiver from Ohio State, Emeka Egbuka, which I think I said that right. I actually have somebody different going to your Detroit Lions. I have Shavon
I don't love
Revel,
but
cornerback, East Carolina. Once again, I went with this because I'll be honest with you. I went for this because I forgot you guys drafted Terrion Arnold last year. But my thought process was you guys were so beat up on your defense that you just need the depth. And if there's a good cornerback on the board, I think you could take him. But I also think that the best edge rusher on the board could also take.
Yeah, the depth was really bad there. So
So that was my thought process. You mentioned Kansas City. Xavier Watts, safety, Notre Dame. 2 reasons why I think he goes to the Chiefs. 1, Xavier Watts sounds like a name that I could hate. And I hate anybody that plays for the Chiefs. So that's reason number 1. Reason number 2, which is more realistic reason, they lost Justin Reed today in free agency. I forgot where. I think he went to the Saints. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he went to the Saints. He's going to NOLA. Wish he was going to Vegas. But they lost their starting safety. So what better way to replace him than Xavier Watts? And then Walter Nolan. You get a defensive tackle to add to that defensive line in Philly. They lost so many pieces on that defense to free agency and just releasing people. So I think they go back to the well and try to beef up their defensive line again with Walter Nolan. And that is my mock draft, and I'll put both of ours back on the screen right there so you can see. MG, do you have any reactions to mine? Do you like mine? Do you hate it? What say you?
Well, all in all, I like yours. Like I said, for me, my team, a corner may still be a need. You said for depth, but I really think edge is the way to go there. Now, if you're not going to go any other way, there's something I noticed about our drafts is we didn't there's not a lot of guards. I think guards are going to fly off in round 2,
Yeah.
guards and centers, because that's a need for us as well, just to add more depth, and we're gonna be replacing some starters soon. So, for me, that's where I go. But yours, all in all, trying to think if there's one I don't hate or don't that stands out at me. I just don't know. I've seen Abdul Carter everywhere. I've seen him as far back as like 8 in some mock drafts. But he's a wild card. If it isn't for need, he's the first guy off the board. But we will see. So
yeah, it's a really weird draft class for sure. And with your pick with McMillan going to the Raiders, Arizona, the wide receiver out of Arizona. Once again, I think Tyler Lockett is in the cards for Vegas. You have Jacoby Myers, who didn't drop a ball last year. You have Trey Tucker in the slot, who's solid. You have Brock Bowers, who's basically a wide receiver playing tight end. The Raiders have their other tight end, Michael Mayer, on the trade blocks, according to the rumor wires. So that right there tells me they're not pressed to get a wide receiver. So I'm going to where they need somebody better, which is why I went with your Michigan man, Will Johnson, there. FG, that wraps up our mock drafts. You, I believe, sir, have a rant that you want to get into.
I don't know if it's going to be a rant, but it's going to be a discussion I want to have with you. Based on what we've seen with your team. Congratulations again on your 7 minutes of having the highest paid down quarterback in NFL history.
Look, I only wanted to be first. I didn't care. I'm just happy that I don't have to hear about trade rumors anymore.
So where are you at with quarterbacks or edge rushers being the defensive side quarterbacks? They are now in that same conversation.
Well, I think
it's those two positions and nothing else.
I think they've been in there since Khalil Mack. I mean, we saw Khalil Mack go for like 4 first-round picks. I'm happy the Raiders didn't do that this time and just re-sign the guy. But we've seen this for a while. TJ Watt a couple years ago. Obviously, Myles Garrett. You could think back to plenty of defensive ends. Chandler Jones was somebody the Raiders obviously got. Osi back in like 2008 was a hot commodity when he signed from the Giants to Atlanta. Chris Long was somebody that was there. So I think the defensive line and edge has always been that perennial, because there's not, name another position that, the middle, like Robert Spillane,
Chris Jones from the middle, is one that is, we just paid Elite McNeil this last year, and then he got hurt. But they're not getting this kind of money. There's $40 million a year is now the going rate, is now what people are going to want to get. Now, if we don't sign Aiden Hutchinson on this offseason, and he goes out and he recovers fully and comes in somewhere with like between 17 and let's say 22 sacks, and gets up there and is dominant. We're gonna be shelling out almost. He's gonna be getting Jared Goff money almost. He's gonna be in that 42 to 46, depending on what other ones are out there. Because you also have Micah Parsons that's gonna get a big payday here soon. You would think. Jerry on his bond yacht, dealing out. I'll tell you what, Micah. There's my stab at the Dallas Cowboys. I also wanted to say this. Have you noticed that all the skill positions now are throwaway positions? One contract, And then unless you were top notch, unless you're the top, like we signed Amon St. Brown to an extension. Some of them will get extensions. For the most part, these guys are going to come in, and if they aren't really good, they're not going to get their 5th-year option picked up if they were in the first round. It just feels to me like at some point, any skill positions, running backs, and that are just throwaway positions because you can go draft more in next season and start your 4-year clock on these guys all over again. So
yeah, I mean, I would say possibly the thing that is saving them right now is we had this last offseason. Running backs were not valued. And then what happened? Every single one of those running backs that were not valued just balled out.
Which
all season, including Saquon getting the Super Bowl ring, which was arguably the biggest one. And you know what's hilarious? What they didn't want to pay Saquon, they ended up paying their tight end this year.
Yeah, that Saquon thing was just odd. It's so bizarre.
A dumpster fire the whole way around from the Giants.
We have Jahmyr Gibbs that's coming up, and he's another one that's a cog. Because I mean, you're right. There were like, 7 backs or so that just had monster seasons for their teams. But like I said, if you think there's a guy that can replace him in the draft in 2 years, and you can move on. And then what it is, it's a succession of 1-year deals. 1 year, do you still have it? We'll sign you for a little over league minimum and call it a day. So yeah, it's kind of how I feel. I don't know. It's just something I thought of that I want to discuss with you, where we are with that. Cause like I said, the money's getting out of control. And it's so hard and we said it last week, that salary cap is going up. And yada, yada. And I just crashed.
Well, that is a good way to end it. We will not be back next week. I am going to a Rangers game on the day that we normally record. So the 26th will be our next episode back. We will do a full recap of everything NFL free agency, and I believe MG's back right there. There's beautiful face. We'll do a full recap of everything free agency and get more into the draft coverage with our mock draft 3.0s. You can follow that man right there at 2FightForever on X. You can follow me at Official Rizk on all social media. And until next time, go ahead, like, subscribe, be a friend, tell a friend, and share this link with somebody that you think is a Raiders fan or a Lions fan or someone that just wants more football coverage. This is the I Don't Give a Football podcast, and we shall see y'all next time. Peace.